Still kind of getting used to this hair. It's short. And I haven't had short hair in so long that I don't know what to do with it. So I find myself like trying to do it the same way as when my hair was, you know, way down my back. And I just don't, I'm so out of touch. Like, comment below like your favorite short hairstyles. I don't even know what to do with it. I feel lost, really. But Diet Coke fixes everything, except for the fact that I feel like we're a little tilted. I don't know. This is already a mess. Hey guys, welcome back to another one. I know I always say this, but I'm particularly excited about this week's video because I am not going to be in control of my reads this week. Somebody else is going to be choosing what I'm reading this week, and I think for a lot of people, losing that control or not picking for yourself is intimidating. But for me, particularly on this week where I am swamped, taking the mental load of choosing what I'm reading next or coming up with ideas to how to pick reads is so freeing that I don't have to worry about that and somebody else is going to take over for me. And I don't know if you all knew this, but I am very good friends with Amanda from Amanda's Booktopia. This girl is so sweet and so kind and so enthusiastic about reading. I met her through the booktube space and she has just been so sweet and kind and helpful. And she asked me over on her channel to choose her reads for the month of May. And I did. I picked her TBR with my crazy chaotic TBR game. And this is going to be the video where Amanda controls what I read with her TBR game for the week. So she sent me a video. I have not watched it yet. I'm running a little behind on my filming schedule, Amanda. I'm so sorry. But let's go ahead, grab my phone, and see what book Amanda chose for me to pick first. So I think the way that we ended up doing this was Amanda is going to pick 3 of my reads, and then I think she's pulling a 4th card that I'm going to get to pick. So there's going to be 4 total books for this week, which I think is very manageable. That doesn't bother me at all, but I got to find the video that she sent me. Okay, located. Here she is, her beautiful face. Okay, I'm going to put Amanda right up here right now, and let's see what Amanda chose for me. Book 1.
Hi Lindsay, thank you so much for asking me to pick your books for this week. I am so excited to do this. You have no idea. I've never gotten to do this for anybody, so I am so excited to pull some cards and decide what you're going to be reading. For with all these different books, I have no clue. I haven't decided yet. I just got my cards all shuffled, and we're going to figure out what you're going to be reading. So I'm very excited. I already shuffled them up, so all we have to do is start pulling. So let's start with card number 1. Let's see what we get. Ooh, this should be an easy one. An ebook. Alright, let me check your Goodreads and see what you got. I don't know what you have for ebooks, but I'm sure you could find something.
Okay, first of all, I just wanted to jump in here because an ebook is so broad. I mean, could there have been? That's awesome. I mean, there's so many choices, but also so many choices. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's thousands of options out there. So, like, power to you, Amanda. I don't know what you're going to pick. There's so many choices. Let's find out.
All right, let me check your Goodreads and see what you got.
Oh, boy.
I don't know what you have for ebooks.
Me either.
But I'm sure you could find something.
You're going to do it. I have faith in you.
Let's see. Right now I have it sorted by title on your Goodreads. Ooh. Let me make sure they haven't already read the series.
The suspense.
I mean,
it's a series.
Trying to be nice and not like give you books that I don't think you're going to like.
Thank you for that. Much appreciated.
I don't want to give you anything too chunky. I want to try to be nice and give you something easy. And I know how much you love your romantasy. Let me make sure you didn't already read this one.
Killing me. Killing me. What is it?
I don't think you did.
What could it be?
And it is on your Goodreads as want to read. And I have a physical copy of this one, so I'm curious to hear what your thoughts will be. So, what I'm going to choose for you, since I don't know if you have this as an ebook, but if you do, that's great. But, you know, we can always make some leeway here. However, this first one sounds interesting, and it's romantasy, and it's from an author that I really enjoy. And I think you might too, since it's on your Goodreads. And that is All the Stars and Teeth by Addie LaRue. And this one sounds really interesting. I have a physical copy, and I've been wanting to read it. I would love to hear your thoughts on it first. So if you have All the Stars and Teeth as an ebook, that'd be awesome. So I would love to hear your thoughts on it.
This is amazing. Oh my gosh. All the Stars and Teeth by Addie LaRue. Not only do I have the physical copy, let me go grab it. Here we go. I went and grabbed it. Not only do I have the physical copy, how do you know me so well that I also absolutely do have the ebook? And I'm going to look it up right now. I'm going to try to determine if this is even Kindle Unlimited. This is Kindle Unlimited. Okay, so not only did I purchase the ebook, because of course I did, own a physical copy, but if you guys want to read this, this is Kindle Unlimited. I have been wanting to get into this. I've heard such great things about this book. Is this YA? I don't know. I might have to look that up on Goodreads. But right here on the cover, it says Princess Pirate Stowaway Mermaid. Pirates and mermaids. The crew makes the queen. All the Stars and Teeth. What a pretty cover. Okay, let's read and kind of try to figure out what this is exactly. It says, she will reign. As princess of the island kingdom Visidia, Amora Montara has spent her entire life training to be the High Animancer, the master of souls. When her demonstration goes awry, Amora is forced to flee. She strikes a deal with Bastion, a mysterious pirate. He'll help her prove she's fit to rule if she'll help him reclaim his stolen magic. Interesting. It says, I am the right choice, the only choice, and I will protect my kingdom. I have been wanting to read this for so long. Let's look up on Goodreads and see if this is YA. I know Addie LaRue also writes Belladonna, and I think at least the first book is considered YA. I don't know if most of her works are, and I believe, I'll confirm this, but I believe this one came before Belladonna. So this is fantasy, young adult, pirate, romance, young adult fantasy, magic, mermaids, adventure. So this was published on February 4th, 2020. Let's go and look up Belladonna. That I feel like is way before Belladonna, but let's just confirm. So Belladonna is also classified as young adult fantasy romance, gothic, paranormal, mystery romantasy. And Belladonna was published in August of 2022. So this did actually come before Belladonna. This is one of Addie LaRue's newer or older works, I should say. And I have been wanting to read this. This has been sitting on my shelves, staring at me for so long. I actually have a little bit of free time because the boys went to the batting cages with Dad. So I'm going to sit down and pick this up and start it now.
Think the world of you, but somewhere down the line we change.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have now been sitting right in this spot for 2 hours. I cannot remember the last time I had 2 uninterrupted hours to sit and read. It feels so good. But I've been sitting here and reading for 2 hours, and it is officially the part of the year in Connecticut where it's like 70 something during the day, but like 50 at night. So I love having my windows open and just listening to the birds and like the breeze blowing through. But as it gets later on in the night, it actually gets like legitimately chilly in the house still. So I'm like crumpled up in my blanket and it feels so good. But like I said, I am now on chapter 16, which is like 165 pages in. I think my Kindle said I was like 42% of the way through All the Stars and Teeth. I'm flying through this book. It is so easy to understand. It follows our main female character, Amora Montara. She is the princess, essentially, of the High Animancer, which is the king of the world of Visidia. And this is a very cool world. There's like a bunch of different islands, and every island is represented by a different gemstone, which does kind of remind me of the Dawn of Onyx world, because I'm pretty sure like every land has like a patron gemstone in that book as well. So that kind of harkens back to Dawn of Onyx to me. But every island is represented by a different gemstone. It like represents their people. But also, every island's people has a different version of power. And at the beginning of the book, there's a key that not only like outlines the different islands and their gemstones, but also what their power is. So I keep kind of like flipping back to that key. It'll say like Kerost. I forget exactly what Kerost is, but like amethyst, and they have the power of changing time, something like that. Like it'll tell you exactly what it is. And the myth is that way, way back when these islands were forming, every person used to be able to control all the powers at once. But then something happened where like a sea monster came or something, and the power from all of the people became so concentrated that the sea monster was able to absorb it. And the people were able to restrain this sea monster, but what has been explained is that if the power concentrates to that level again, the sea monster could break free and destroy the world. So in order to make sure that no power is concentrated in one space to break the sea monster free, they only allow you to use one form of magic at a time. You cannot practice dual magic or else it's dangerous and the world could collapse. That's basically what I'm understanding so far. So there's this conflict at the beginning of the book where in order to prove that she can rule and take over for her father, the king, in order to prove her worthiness to lead Visidia, Amora has to determine the fate of a prisoner and say whether he's guilty or not, and then give him a punishment if he's guilty. And without giving anything away spoilery, basically, she does determine that this guy is guilty, and when she's doling out his punishment, something happens and she not only loses control of her power and starts using too much power, but she hears a voice in her head, which has so far implied that she's hearing the voice of the beast. And because of this, she's deemed unsafe and she's thrown in the jail cell. That's crazy to me. Like her father, it's not like he turns on her, but he basically, as she's pulled away by the guards, he's like, I can't help you. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, you've been deemed dangerous. What do you want me to do? Like, everyone's gonna turn on me if I don't give you an appropriate punishment, you know? Like, he is kind of between like a rock and a hard place, but her father basically allows her to be thrown in this jail cell. And long story short, she is then broken out by this man named Bastion, who puts her aboard a ship and says that he will help her if she helps him. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't completely figured out what Bastion needs from Amora yet. I'm sure it's gonna come up at some point, but as of right now, he's trying to help her figure out what she will need to prove that she's not dangerous and get back to Visidia without being arrested. It sounds really complicated. Like, I guess it really is. I don't think until I had to describe it, I realized how many moving parts and locations and people and powers and this and that is going on in this book. Because when you're reading it, it doesn't feel that complicated. And I will say that is kind of a general theme of YA, in my opinion, that they can craft a pretty good story, but hide some of the more complicated details while you're reading, because this technically, you know, somebody who's in their late teens does have to be able to understand this. So I'm liking it. It is kind of suffering from like YA syndrome just a little bit, where some of their conversations seem a little young and I lose interest and stuff like that. But I am starting to see a little sprinklings of romance between some of the characters. And the funniest part is our main girl, Amora, is promised to be married to this man named Theric, who isn't horrible. He's just kind of a little weaselly, and he is sort of traveling with them. So that's an interesting dynamic, but I am liking this so far. And I have sat here and flown through 42% of the book, which feels amazing to just sit and binge a book. I don't think it's realistic that I'm going to finish it tonight because my boys will be back in the next couple of minutes. I got to do dinner and all that, but I will come back in the morning and tell you how much progress I ended up making tonight.
touch as time goes by. Still I'm holding on to you. I know that it's time for me to let you go. I know that it's time for us to part, though it breaks my heart. Baby, it's time for me to face the truth and say it out loud. I don't know you anymore.
Although I had wanted to finish All the Stars and Teeth yesterday, we ended up spending like 4 hours at the ball field. Shocker. So I did wake up this morning and finish this between bringing my boys to school. I'm officially done with this, and I am giving this a 3.75 stars. I'm conflicted about how to talk about this one because I have a lot of like push and pull thoughts. You know what I'm saying? So let me try to gather my thoughts and think about where to start. So let's start with the pros first. The world in this is so cool. The world in this reminds me very much of Daniel L. Jensen's Bridge Kingdom series. Like, even if you look in the beginning of the book, there's like a map. I'll put a picture right here that I found online. This map reminds me of Bridge Kingdom for some reason, and I think it's just because it's like a similar theme where there's different islands and each island has like different people and different culture and different power and stuff like that. So the entire time I was reading this, I was just amazed at how much it was reminding me of my reading experience with the Bridge Kingdom. And the reason why I even go there is because I loved the world building in the Bridge Kingdom, and I loved the world building in this. There's something about different worlds and different lands on different islands, and the characters have to sail between the islands, and the pirates and the boats and the sea life and things like that. I don't know why, but it just does something for me. And this did it very, very well. The world was a hit. And the storyline was a hit. I really, really liked the storyline of this. However, there were things in this book that I just don't think Adeline Grace did enough with. So for example, every island is represented by a different gemstone. Why? We don't really know. It's really never explained. Now, there is a second book to this duology, so maybe she'll delve a little bit more into that in the second book, but the point is, you just read a 375-page book where that was just never touched upon. For some reason, each island associated themselves with a gemstone. For some reason, we don't know. Every island also associated themselves with a different magical power, and that storyline was talked about and was tied up neatly and was a central theme of this book. The gemstones, no clue why. And that's just one example of plot lines that were just kind of not tied up. Also, and this happens to me a lot with like more YA, I wouldn't actually say this is YA. I would kind of say this is like teetering between YA and new adult, because there wasn't any explicit spice in this book, but there were like spicier scenes, and it doesn't actually go completely into spice. It's one of those things where it was like everything leading up to the actual act, and then it kind of, we can't do this, and then the chapter ended. So there wasn't any explicit spice, but I don't know that I would be comfortable with like my 12-year-old reading this or something like that. So I think I would put this kind of like lower end new adult, upper end YA, if that makes sense. I would probably wait till, high schoolers, kind of high school, to read this. Middle school is probably a no-go, at least for my comfortability. I totally forget where I was going with that. Oh, that's right. So as far as like new adult YA books, this did suffer from what often happens with me as a 37-year-old woman who's talked a little bit about how I just feel like these books kind of lose me a little bit. They don't interest me. I've kind of grown out of them. And by the way, I've gotten some pushback in the comments when I've said that before about YA books, and I don't think I deserve it, because I always caveat that statement by saying that's not necessarily a criticism on YA genre. These books are not written for me. These books aren't written with 37-year-olds in mind. Like, I am not the prime demographic that YA books are written for. So it would kind of make sense that I struggle to connect a little bit with them, because I'm not meant to connect with them. I'm sure if I was in high school again reading this book, I wouldn't have that problem. I'm just speaking personally As a 37-year-old mom of two, reading YA, I struggle to connect because I can't relate to the problems or to the attitudes or to the mindset of some of the characters oftentimes because I'm not a young adult. But this book did suffer from some of the things that happen when I personally read YA. I just got to the point sometimes where I just didn't care. And I really didn't care about the relationship very much. Like, it was cute. It was very cute in a very young adult kind of way. It didn't have the depth of an adult relationship to me. And it's because they're not adults. So I don't even know that that's a criticism. I'm just saying, like, as I was reading through the book, I wasn't like yearning to know what happens between the characters. I wasn't pulling for their romance. I just didn't really care. Like, they kissed and I was just like, oh, that was cute. And then I moved on. I didn't care. And as far as the love in this book between the characters, that's kind of my biggest criticism. This love story, like this romance, came out of literal nowhere. Like, they were literally strangers one second, met, decided they didn't like each other, had nothing in common. He was treating her badly. She wanted nothing to do with him. And then literally like a chapter later, they were kissing. And I was like, where did that come from? It wasn't even insta-love. It just came out of literal nowhere. Like, I don't know where the romance came from. And to me, it kind of felt like Adeline Grace knew that she kind of had to incorporate some sort of romance into this book to make it like interesting to young people. And I get that, but I don't think it was necessary. I think the story and the world could have carried the plot better. She didn't need to just create and throw in a random romance to like fulfill a plot point. But overall, 3.75 stars is good. A 2.5 is average. So this was significantly above average for me. There is a second book to the duology. I do own it. Would I read it? I think I probably would, but there's like 400 other books on my shelves that I would feel stronger about going into first. Like, I wouldn't prioritize this. But I do think the ending intrigued me a bit, and particularly the last couple of chapters, like after the big conflict happens and after the big, twist happens in the plot, and how the last chapter in the epilogue is kind of tied together. I would want to know what happens with our characters moving forward. So I think I probably would read the second one. I'm just not jumping right into it or like prioritizing it over other series. Overall, what a good first pick though, Amanda. That was a good one. And I did need a little bit of romantasy. I don't know if I needed YA romantasy, but I did need romantasy. So I was happy with that. However, I am ready to jump right into our second book. So I have my phone. I have Amanda's video. Let me throw her back up on the screen here and let's see what she picked as my second book.
All right. Now we are going to choose book number 2. And we have a booktube rec. Ooh. Maybe since I'm a booktuber, I can recommend you something. Let me see what else you've got on here that I can recommend.
I have thousands of books saved to my Goodreads, so picking from my Goodreads
Maybe
is a bold choice. Maybe we should give you
a romance. Let's see what you got for romance. Ooh. Did you read this one yet? Let me make sure. You mark this one as want to read. And I also really enjoyed this book, and I would love to hear your thoughts. So this is a recommendation from me to give to you, since it is a rec. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this. This is Longshot by Kennedy Ryan. And I read a lot of Kennedy Ryan books and have really enjoyed them, and Longshot is one of them. And it is kind of heavy. However, I would love to hear your thoughts on Longshot, because I thought it was fabulous. I still need to continue the series, but I would love to hear you read this and give me all your thoughts. So I am very excited to see what you would think of Longshot.
I have owned this book for entirely too long. This is my version of Longshot by Kennedy Ryan. I don't know what publishing order it was, because it's not the one with the man on the cover, like Amanda was showing, but I don't know what this is about. She kissed the prince and he turned into a fraud. Now her fairy tale is upside down. Goodreads says, a standalone forbidden love set in the explosive world of the NBA. So this is a NBA basketball sports romance. I am so in the mood for that right now, after the like YA kind of like epicer more epic romantasy. It says, think you know what it's like being a baller's girl? You don't. My fairy tale is upside down. A happily never after. I kissed the prince and he turned into a fraud. I was a fool and his love, fool's gold. Now there's a new player in the game, August West, one of the NBA's brightest stars. Fine, forbidden. He wants me. I want him. But my past, my fraudulent prince just won't let me go. Is this a little dark romance, NBA? I'm so into this. And this will actually be my first Kennedy Ryan, despite owning everything the woman has ever written, and I'm so excited to get into her. So, Amanda, you knocked it out of the park with this one. You knocked it out of the court with this one. So, let's go start it. Going to try to keep my voice kind of low because my husband has been working like around the clock lately. Work has been so crazy for him, and he did a 16-hour shift, and now he's just like exhausted. So he just went and laid down to take a nap. I don't want to disturb him, so we're gonna keep it quiet so that he can rest because he deserves it. But I cannot remember the last time that I sat down, cracked a book open, and just sat there and read it cover to cover nonstop. That's what I did with Longshot. I just sat down, opened this book to page 1, and blinked and read 457 pages in one go. I seriously cannot remember the last time. First of all, I can't remember the last time I had like that amount of free time to do that, but also this book flew by. I feel like I read 450 pages in like 5 hours. That's insanely fast for me, and I cannot believe I just did that, but this was so good. I'm giving this a 4.5 stars. This was amazing. And I know we're doing this a little backward because I'm giving my rating and now I'm going to give you my synopsis. But like I said, I opened this book and I finished this book. So I never came back in front of the camera to give you guys like a description. So we're going to do that now. So if you haven't read Longshot, this book follows our main female character, Iris, who is at the beginning of the book dating a professional NBA player named Caleb. And in the beginning of the book, this Caleb character is like, okay, like he's fine. But you just get this vibe that Iris just feels, thank you, furnace, as usual. Anyways, you just get this feeling that Iris is feeling very just like underwhelmed and unfulfilled in their relationship. You know, like there's nothing necessarily wrong with him. There's just a spark missing, but he is fine. As the book goes on, you start learning some things about him where you're like, oh, I hate you. You are garbage. But in the beginning of the book, he's not that bad. So he's a professional NBA player, and his kind of like rival in the NBA is August West, who's on another NBA team. And there comes a situation where August and Iris kind of run into each other and meet, and sparks fly. The sparks that were kind of missing with Caleb fly between her and August. And obviously Caleb feels very threatened by this, and the story progresses from there. Here is one thing I will say about this book, because I do highly recommend that you read this. I'm obviously rating it very high with 4.5 stars. However, I will say this. This book goes very in-depth into some very traumatic and emotionally damaging topics. And when I say like it's not just like touched upon, it's like in detail discussed, and some like on-page graphic violence, if you get what I'm saying. So if that's something you don't like reading about, or it makes you feel a little uncomfortable, I would kind of look into this, or at least be warned before you jump into it, because I don't have triggers. For me, triggers aren't a thing. And even in certain scenes with this book, I was like, ooh, like it made me feel a little uncomfy. So yeah, look into it. Overall though, Kennedy Ryan's writing is so immersive. It just sucked me in. Like something about this writing it kind of like immersed itself into my brain, and I didn't even have to think about it. I could just see it as a movie in my head. And I think that's what allowed me to read, 100 pages an hour. Miss Ryan, what did you put in this book? Because this is so good. So good. I will absolutely be continuing. Amanda, what a banger of a pick, ma'am. That is, wow. I'm so excited to continue on, not only with this series. I think, what is it? Longshot is next, and then Hookshot is the third one. But I also own Before I Let Go and the Kingmaker series by Kendi Ryan. They're right here, so I'm like looking at them. I am so excited because not only did this book and this story excite me, but Kendi Ryan's writing excited me. So, wow, Amanda. Good pick, girl. Okay, so let's go ahead and throw Amanda back on the screen and see the third book that she is going to pick for me. So far, you've done really well, Amanda. So let's see if we can keep this hot streak going.
All right. Book number 3. See what we can get. Ooh. I got cards that are stuck together. Okay, published in 2020. That's going to be a little bit harder to find. Let me see if I can find something for you from 2020. Let's see.
2020. These like published on like dates are tricky because I never know. Usually I'm reading things like late. You know what I'm saying? This is tricky.
You do have a lot of books on here.
Now poor Amanda has to go through my entire want to read list.
Ooh. Did you read this one yet?
I don't know.
I got something for you for 2020. Yep, it came out October 6th of 2020, and I really enjoyed this book. The ending, I didn't love, but I did really enjoy the book overall, and I really would like to hear your thoughts. And that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab.
I'm scared.
And this was a time and a half. And I really had a fun time overall.
Overall, that makes me so nervous. Okay, V.E. Schwab is one of the authors that I've been a little intimidated by. I have read something by her. I read Vicious, the first book, but I'm a little intimidated by her because she's a genius
with the story, and V.E. Schwab is such a good writer, and I'm also excited for her new book coming out this year. So maybe this is in preparation for the new book. Maybe you'll be interested in reading her new one. So if you are, maybe here's your introduction, if you haven't read V.E. Schwab yet, to Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, because I would love to hear your thoughts on Addie LaRue, for sure.
Amanda, this is the one that you have chosen that I am the most scared for, because V.E. Schwab is a very specific style of writing. Very intellectual, very intelligent, very flowery, purpley, like prose, like very, almost like classically prosed, if that makes sense. And also because of the way of the style of her writing, it's very usually detailed. And that writing isn't bad for me, but it has to be done the right way. And Vicious was good, but it's a different type of book than Addie LaRue. Vicious had a little bit more of like an angsty, mysterious thriller vibe to it, where you were trying to figure out this like violence that was happening and things like that to these characters. Addie LaRue is, from what I understand, much more of a character study. So the way that that prose kind of comes out is going to be interesting, because it can either go really bad or really good for me. Let me go grab the book off the shelves really quick before I get too far ahead of myself. So here she is. This is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I have owned this book forever. When I really started collecting books and building up my library, this might have been one of the first books that I really knew I had to have on my shelves, particularly in hardback. And I've just kind of steered away from reading it because I've heard such mixed things. Like, some people say that this is one of their favorite books of all times, and other people say that it just didn't do it for them. I know that I have not seen the movie, but the movie Age of Adeline is based on The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I know that it's about a woman who cannot be remembered through time, I believe. I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know what is going to happen, but I have heard amazing things about the story. story, and I'm hoping that I connect to the writing. So basically, in short, I'm not worried about the story. I'm worried about the prose and the writing with V.E. Schwab. This will be a very different book than Vicious, so we will see if that style kind of translates over to a more slower literary vibe. Another great pick, Amanda. Wow. So here's an example of what I'm talking about, and I hope you can hear me well because I'm trying to keep my voice down and the camera's a little far away. But she wakes up next to a boy and she knows that this boy will not remember her. And it says, she knows, of course, that she can't, knows that he'll forget. She lies there perfectly still, tries to hold time like a breath in her chest, as if she can keep the clock from tipping forward, keep the boy beside her from waking, keep the memory of their night alive through sheer force of will. She knows, of course, that she can't, knows that he'll forget, they always do. It isn't his fault, it is never their faults. The boy is still asleep and she watches the slow rise and fall of his shoulders, the place where his dark hair curls against the nape of his neck, the scar along his ribs, details long memorized. His name is Toby. Last night she told him hers was Jess. She lied, but only because she can't say her real name, one of the vicious little details tucked like nettles in the grass, hidden barbs designed to sting. What is a person, if not the marks they leave behind? She has learned to step between the thorny weeds, but there are some cuts that cannot be avoided, a memory, a photograph, a name. In the last month, she has been Claire, Zoe, Michelle, but 2 nights ago when she was Elle and they were closing down a late-night cafe after one of his gigs, Toby said that he was in love with a girl named Jess. He simply hadn't met her yet. So now she is Jess. It's beautiful writing, beautiful, but very flowery and detailed. So that's literally page 1, but we are currently in 2014, which is interesting. I thought we would start in an older timeline, so I'm going to keep going. Okay, we just got to chapter 3, page 23, and now we are in Vion-sur-Sarthe, France, the summer of 1698. I kind of thought that's how it was going to go. It's interesting that it opened in 2014, so I guess we're going to kind of work backwards, but we are now in 1698, so we will see what happens. It is the next day, and I found I'm like dragging ass today, so I grabbed a Ghost, which is like my go-to energy drink, but this is new. This is the Electric Daisy Carnival Electric Limeade Ghost. I am super on the fence about whether this is going to be good or not. I like sour stuff, so lemon lime is good, but okay, it smells like literally nothing. Ooh, she's good. Okay, I like that. Am I going to be able to drink an entire can of it? That's yet to be seen, but the Electric Limeade Electric Daisy Carnival 2025 Ghost is cool. And the can's really pretty too. But yeah, we're good. I don't think I'm going to be able to drink an entire can of this, but it'll do the trick. So, reading update. I honestly didn't get as far into Addie LaRue yesterday as I was hoping I would. I was really trying to get to 50% and I'm definitely not there. So this book has like 440 something pages and yesterday I was able to get to 151. So I was able to read like that little sliver right there and I have the rest left. That means I have like 300-ish pages left and I have an insanely busy day today. I'm not going to have a ton of time that I'm going to be able to like sit down and dedicate to reading like I did yesterday. However, I did go ahead and use an Everand credit for the audiobook, and shameless plug, I have a link and a code with Everand. If you are ever looking to try out audiobooks, or if you're tired of spending $17 something a month to get 1 credit on Audible and you want to try Everand, it's the same price and you get 3 credits a month. So you can listen to 1 audiobook on Audible or 3 on Everand, and they have a really great assortment of like ebooks and other things as well. So if you ever want to give them a try, my code is always linked in the description down below. And if I remember, I'll like try to slap it up on the screen here. But I did go ahead and I traded in one of my unlocks for the audiobook of this on Everand. And my eye, I don't know if you guys watched, but I had an eye injury this month and it is like 95% back to normal, but still gives me just like a little bit of problems. Like it's still healing. And for some reason, towards the end of the day yesterday, I think I overdid it with the physical reading because my eye was throbbing and starting to bother me. So I went ahead and turned in a credit. I think I'm going to try to make significant progress in Addie LaRue on Audible today. So I probably won't have a ton of footage. But if I do sit down with the book, I'll be sure to turn the camera on. In the meantime, I'm going to go and see if we can get 300 pages of Addie LaRue read today. Actually, first, let's talk about what we've read in like the 150 pages that we've read. So Addie basically was being forced into this marriage. You know, it was back in the day when women kind of were worthless unless they were married. You know what I'm saying? Like your worth was in your husband, and she was being forced into this marriage that she really just didn't want to get into. There was nothing wrong with the man, but she just didn't want to do it. So she makes a deal with, I don't know what it is, this dark god, I don't think he's a demon. I don't know what he is. He's like a shadow god. And her deal is that she will be able to live separate lives. I believe 7, because she has 7 freckles, 7 separate lives. The catch is no one will ever remember her. So the minute she leaves the room or the minute she leaves their eyesight, they forget her. And it's like she never existed. And also the caveat to that is that she cannot do or say or write anything to help them remember her. So if she tries to write like, my name is Addie LaRue, I am Addie LaRue on a piece of paper, it just disappears. Like it's like it never happened. Or if she tries to sing a song about her life, no words come out. Or if she tries to tell her life story, it gets caught in her throat. Like she just physically can't help them to remember her. It's interesting so far. Loving the writing. It's definitely flowery. It's definitely lyrical, but so far I like V.E. Schwab's lyrical. So I'm going to say this, and it's not to disparage any other author. It's more the way that my brain intakes this type of flowery writing. V.E. Schwab's flowery prose is very accessible. I never find myself like confused or lost or bored. I never feel lectured to or preached to. It's not written in a condescending way. It's just a very almost like old English style of writing, but in an accessible way, as opposed to when I tried to read, or when I did read One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. Why can't I speak? One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. Now, that is understanding that One for My Enemy is a Shakespeare retelling. So Olivia Blake was trying to give it a little bit of a Shakespearean feel. So I understand there was a little bit of a syntax and like a writing style difference. However, that writing just came across so preachy and condescending to me. It lost me. It didn't interest me. I almost felt like it was reading like a textbook, kind of. I felt like I was back in an AP English class reading Shakespeare, and it wasn't an enjoyable style of writing for me. Now, V.E. Schwab, on the other hand, is writing in a very flowery, reminiscent, old English type of way. And also, I did listen to a couple of sentences in the audiobook just to make sure I would like it. And it is it's Julia Whelan, but she's doing a French accent because Addie is from France originally. So I'm liking that. It's not like difficult, but you can definitely tell like the stylistic difference in the way that they speak and the phrases that they use and the way that they kind of have conversations and form conversations, but I'm liking the way that V. Schwab is doing it way better than I liked the way that Olive Blake did it. This is just much more of an enjoyable way to tell a story to me. So I'm into it so far. I think if I had to rate it 150 pages in, so far I'd probably give it like a 4-star, like an even 4-star. I'm excited to see the story progress a little bit because I am starting to get to the point where I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, let's continue. I get it. Let's keep moving in the story. So let's see if that gets any better and we make some like, you know, moves in the storyline, because that could end up affecting the rating. So like I said, I'm going to throw on my AirPods, so I might not be updating, but I will catch you when I have another update.
That's a hole. Woo! All right. All right, Cole. Way to go, Cole.
Several hours later, I am actually on my way to the store because my husband is currently coaching soccer, and on days where he's coaching, he takes a half shift. So he still has to go to work after this. And we have a butcher in our town, which I love. And I did go to the butcher earlier and I got some filet mignon, but I need to grab some like potatoes and a veggie to go on the side of it because I feel very strongly about him going to work with a full belly of warm homemade food. I just feel really, really strongly about that. So I have to go to the store and pick up some side stuff and make it so that it's nice and warm when he gets home and he can go to work with a prepackaged amount of food, because I firmly believe that we all perform better when we have good food in our stomach. So I am doing that right now while they are at practice, but I figured I would take this time while I'm kind of driving to the store to tell you guys where I'm at and to give you an update. So I said before that I was going to throw The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue into my headphones because I had gotten it on an Everand credit, and I did in fact do that. And you know what, guys, I have to say, I am not a audiobook girl. I kind of started my first audiobook earlier this year, and it hasn't actually been my favorite way to intake books because I'm so particular about the narrator's like voice and reading style. Sometimes I actually feel like it can like ruin the book for me if I don't like the narrator, or I struggle to focus or listen, or I don't know, sometimes even super strong accents like take me out of the story or are harder for me to understand in my ears. And when that happens, I have to slow the listening speed down so much that at that point I might as well just read, because I read faster than I listen if I have to slow it down. But I have to be honest with you, I really, really enjoyed The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue audiobook. I really liked it, and I looked it up because the voice sounded so familiar to a few other audiobooks that I'd listened to and really, really enjoyed the narrator. And sure enough, I look it up and it's Julia Whalen, who I think, maybe this is open to interpretation or opinion, but I think she's like one of the most prolific and well-loved audiobook narrators because her voice is just so crispy and beautiful and easy to understand and soothing, and I just can't describe it. Her voice is crisp. She enunciates well. She's easy to listen to. So sure enough, Julia Whalen was the narrator for Addie LaRue, and I think that really helped me fly through the rest of the book. I am officially finished with Addie LaRue. That is 2 books, 2 days. Just saying, little round of applause for me. 2 books, 2 days. So here's my thoughts. I am going to end up giving this book, I was at a 4. I'm between a 4.25 and a 4.5. I think I do have to marinate on it for a little bit. So like whatever I put up right here is what I decide to go with on Goodreads, because right now I'm really not sure. I know I gave Longshot a 4.5. So now I'm like second guessing myself. So I got to marinate on it for a little bit. I got to think about it for a little while, but for right now, whatever is up on the screen is what I end up giving it on Goodreads. I really enjoyed this book, and I really like V.E. Schwab's writing style. It's beautiful. It's not pretentious. It's so easy to understand. I really loved it. I think at the end of the day, what ended up making this kind of like an unperfect quote unquote book for me was it's kind of like something that's kind of like an unfair criticism, because it was very repetitive. Very. And like I said at the end of my last update, like it did get to the point at a lot of points where I was like, okay, like let's get on with this now. However, the reason why I say I think that's almost an unfair criticism is that because I think part of that was on purpose, and it was further enhancing the general point of the book, that was Addie LaRue had lived so many lives that it was almost making a social commentary on the repetitiveness of interactions and the repetitiveness of relationships and the repetitiveness of conversations and daily life, and how if we lived for 700 years, it would become a slog, like it would become repetitive. So I'm like, I feel bad giving it that criticism because I do think most of that was intentional on the part of V.E. Schwab's, writing. However, as the reader in 450 pages, all I can do is tell you that after the first handful of interactions, it is basically just going to repeat throughout the entire book. And that does become... I don't want to say it was boring. It wasn't boring. It was just kind of like, yeah, we've seen this already. But what ends up saving it is V.E. Schwab's writing, which is gorgeous. Gorgeous. I know when Amanda chose this book, she said she wasn't in love with the ending. And while I could see that, like super fair criticism, and I'm like still trying to formulate my thoughts on the ending, which is obviously like spoil free. I'm not going to say anything about it, but I'm still formulating my thoughts on the ending. I could see how people would not care for it or would prefer an alternative ending to what ended up happening. Like I could see how it would be like a wee controversial, I guess is what I'm saying. However, I didn't mind it. I actually kind of saw it coming, to be completely honest with you, just with the way the rest of the book was written. So when it actually did happen, it didn't like blow my mind. Like I wasn't super shocked because I kind of saw what was going to happen. However, you are going to find this book very repetitive, and you are going to find the ending potentially unsatisfying. I will say that. However, it was good. Maybe a little slow, but the writing was gorgeous. V.E. Schwab obviously knows what she's doing, but just maybe like a wee slow and repetitive. I really liked it though. I am definitely going to continue on reading V.E. Schwab. I like it. I like it a lot. And I think I might have to go into her Darker Shades of Magic books next. Although realistically, I should probably finish Vengeful because I already read Vicious. So we will see. But I am currently pulling into the grocery store, so I cannot watch what Amanda selected for me next. I will do that when I get home. However, we are flying through these books this week, like seriously flying through it. So Amanda, you are killing it right now. You've had 2 over 4-star books. That's so crazy. But all right, let's go ahead, find our sides for our yummy dinner tonight, and then we will go home and see what Amanda selects for our 4th and final book. Officially back at home, and it is actually warm today. I think this is like the first solid couple of days of warm weather. I mean, it's been raining on and off and it's been overcast, but it is like decently humid in Connecticut today. I'm loving it. I cannot wait for the summer. Does anyone else feel more productive in the summer? Like maybe it's like if you're from a cold weather state, right? Like I have zero motivation in the winter. It sucks. And it's dark by like 3. Ridiculous. So let me go ahead and slap Amanda back on the screen. This actual last prompt, she is going to pull the card, but I get to decide the book. So the last one, she's pulled the cards and decided the books for me, but now she's just going to pull a card and I have to pick a book from the prompt. So let me go ahead and put her back on the screen. Take it away, wonderful, incredible Amanda.
All right, and we're going to pull one more card. However, you get to choose this book. So I'm going to give you the prompt, and then you get to decide which one you're reading.
Okay. Make it a good one.
Let's see if we can get something good for you. We'll go with this card. Okay, this is an easy one for you. Book with a number in the title.
Oh.
That should be an easy one. So whatever you have that has a number in the title,
okay,
that will work.
I could do that.
And those are all the cards that I have pulled for you. I really hope you enjoy these reads. I'm very excited to hear your thoughts on all of them because Adeline Grace is a great writer. I want to read more of her. The other books that I picked for you, I've read and enjoyed. So I'm excited to hear everything you have in store for us. And thank you so much for asking me to choose your books for this week. I hope everybody has a great time hearing all of your thoughts on my picks. So thank you, Lindsay, for asking me, and I can't wait to see how this video turns out.
That is an easy one. Okay, number in the title. That is just slightly open-ended for me, so let me go ahead and compile some options, and I will come right back. This was such an open-ended prompt that I have quite a few options, so I'm going to tear through them really quickly, make a decision based on what would be best for me right now, so let's go ahead and talk about it. So the first book that I found on my shelves is Five Broken Blades. This is a fantasy romance. I believe it's adult. Yes, adult, not YA. And it says it's about 5 killers who are summoned to work together for a single objective, to kill the god King June, but only one can take the crown. I have heard slightly mixed things about this book. Some people have said it's great and other people have actually DNF'd it. But then I've also seen people say some pretty good things about the new sequel that just released. So I'm definitely still intrigued. Jump scare next morning. So while I was trying to pick a book last night, while I was filming, my brother-in-law came home and we ended up chatting, and then I just like abandoned his space and said that I would pick it up in the morning so I didn't disturb him. So it is the next morning. We all got a good night's sleep. I didn't disturb him in his space. So we are going to continue with our book with a number in the title picking now. Also, it is 9:40 in the morning and I do already have a crispy McDonald's Diet Coke. And that is because it's the little things in marriages, right, that really matter every day. And one of the little things that my husband does for me is that on his way home from work at 1 o'clock in the morning, he stops and grabs me a McDonald's Diet Coke so that it surprises me in the fridge when I wake up the next morning. Because he knows that it brightens my day. So I woke up this morning and there was McDonald's Diet Coke in there, which was very sweet for him. So thank you, bub. All right, let's see. Where were we? We just talked about Five Broken Blades. So let me scooch over. I also could do, keeping in the 5 theme, 5 Brothers by Penelope Douglas. I did read Credence, which was my only Penelope Douglas that I've read, and I actually really enjoyed it in like a very taboo way. But this says it's about a woman who becomes entangled with 5 distinctive brothers. An ex-Marine, a single father, a soon-to-be prisoner, a cruel youth, and her former lover, and a steamy, mysterious encounter. That doesn't really tell me much. It says she learns the secret of the 5 Jaeger brothers. Okay, that doesn't really tell me much, but I do love Penelope Douglas's more like taboo dark romance vibes. I could also do 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I've heard really great things about this book. It was a Reese Witherspoon book club pick, and it says it's a steamy second chance romance that follows 2 writers who reconnect after 15 years, exploring their buried traumas and undeniable chemistry during a week in Brooklyn summer. Okay, so it might be a little bit more like emotional and angsty. I don't know that I'm in the mood for that. I could also obviously do The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I don't even think I need to talk about this one. It's been on multiple TBRs. I've talked about it a couple of times, but also it took BookTube and Bookstagram by storm. But this is about a book publicist who falls for her temporary roommate only to discover he's from 7 years in the past. And it's funny because I have been recently intrigued by this book because I feel like 1 month in my TBR, I got a prompt that said like, choose a book that has something to do with time travel or something like that. And I think I went with The Ministry of Time for that one, but this was a option that I put up on the screen being like, I could do The 7-Year Slip because he's from 7 years in the past, so we must have time traveled. And on that video, I got a couple of people commenting saying it actually wasn't time travel at all. So now I'm kind of intrigued as to how he's from 7 years in the past, but he didn't time travel. So I am slightly more intrigued by this one. I could also do 9-Month Contract by Amy Dawes. This actually was selected, I think, for a Kindle pick a couple of months ago on my TBR, and I never got to it. But it says it's about a grumpy mountain man who seeks a surrogate mother through an unconventional job posting. When he meets the perfect candidate, their planned clinical arrangement sparks unexpected romantic feelings. It's very unique. I've never read anything like that. And right now I could kind of use something after Addie LaRue. I could like use something a little less serious. So this is a contender. And last but not least, I could go for the obvious one and do Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This is talked about all over the internet, but it's about shy, bullied Shannon finds unexpected chemistry with popular rugby star Johnny, leading to an angsty, undeniable friends to lovers romance. So if I'm being honest, this is the book I want to choose the most because I really genuinely do want to get into Binding 13, but this is also opening me up to like a 6-book series or so whatever it's at now. They just released the new one, like, or are releasing the new one, but this is opening me up to like another big book series, and I'm just kind of scared because I've heard this one's going to rip my heart out, and I don't know if I want to get my heart out and start another big series. So this is the one I want to choose, but should I choose it? So I'm standing here kind of scrolling through all of our options, and like some of them I'm like less excited about, so I feel like I've already kind of eliminated those in my brain. Now the question is, what do I want to do? If I'm being honest, the 3 that I'm in the middle of are 5 Brothers, 9-Month Contract, and Binding 13. But I know that Binding 13 isn't the smart strategic choice right now. So I think really I'm between 5 Brothers and 9-Month Contract. I'm going to go with 9-Month Contract because I have the audiobook as well. I don't remember if it was free or if I purchased it in one of like the audiobook, like Audible sales, but I happen to have the audiobook, and on 2.5x speed, I think I could get through this in like 4 hours, which means that between physically reading and listening to it while I fold my laundry and stuff today, I may be able to finish this in the same day. So because I'm a little behind this month on my reading with my eye injury, I am kind of prioritizing books that I can get through. So I'm going to go with 9-Month Contract for my book with a number in the title prompt. It's now 6:30 at night, and I am about 10 minutes away from having to go and pick up my son from their little like end of school celebration that they're having. But I had the last 2 hours to dedicate to sitting and chilling and reading 9-Month Contract, which I did. I officially finished it, and I'm giving this book 3.5 stars, but the more and more I think about it, it might be closer to a 3-star. I gave it 3.5 stars on Goodreads, but like as it's like marinating and I'm sitting and like I was trying to formulate my thoughts before I turned the camera on and like spoke to you guys about my thoughts, I think it's probably a little lower. And I'm like thinking about it, and I'm just kind of like, oh, I don't know if I like the way that some things were executed. I don't know that I love, like, I don't know that I love the characters. So what this book is about a girl who is our main female character who is literally obsessed with the fact that she is plus sized. I feel like 95% of this character's personality is that she's a plus size girl, okay? And it's all she talks about, it's all she thinks about, it's all she interprets anybody else seeing in her. And all the way through the book, she actually refers to herself as a cow. Now, it's a double entendre, right? Like it has double meanings, but like she literally just obsessively refers to herself as a cow. And she like moos in her own head when she's thinking about herself, which is a little strange and irritating. But this girl essentially wants to go and be a surrogate for a family, a surrogate mother, but she's denied at the clinic because she's overweight. Now, I'm going to be completely full disclosure with you guys. I don't know much about like the ins and outs and the intricacies of the surrogacy industry. I'm assuming it has to do with the fact that if you want to be a surrogate, you have to show that you're in the best health, because couples who are going to literally pay, I think it's like tens of thousands of dollars, I don't know, to have you carry their life, want to make sure that you're healthy and that you take care of yourself because you are the vessel for their baby. So she, long story short, gets turned away from this clinic specifically for being overweight and runs into this girl who is our main male character's niece, who has dedicated herself to helping him find someone to carry his baby. The relationship between like the niece and all of the uncles in this book, including our main male character, like I'm so conflicted on it because on the one hand there were cute moments between them, but then it like kind of got creepy. It kind of got a little weird. Like this niece was just so dedicated to finding her uncle someone to carry his baby. Like he's a grown man and she's an 18-year-old girl. And I just feel like he could have handled this. Like he could have gotten this, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, our main female character and this niece run into each other. And our main female character goes on one of her like textbook rants about how she was turned down at this clinic. And the niece basically just goes, why don't you carry my uncles? How convenient. That's what I was here looking for. I was here looking for a lady to carry my uncle's baby. Just little strange, little weird premise, but whatever. Let's get over it. It's a book. It's not real life. So then our main female character and the main male character meet up and decide that this is what they're going to do. And then he moves her up to like his mountain estate with his brothers and she's going to carry his baby. I'm not going to give away anything else other than that, but like so much about what happens next and the way that this book is written is just so over the top and like, yeah, like a little cringy, but also just like a little strange, like a little weird. And the main male character gets like weirdly possessive over her while he tells her, I want nothing with you after this. I don't want to be together. And she's like, good, cool, neither do I. He like is very controlling over her and past like asking her not to do things with her body because she's his potential surrogate, like to the point where like he wants to control who she speaks to. And that's a little weird, but like go off. He's like a grumpy, it's not really grumpy sunshine because our main female character Trista is not a sunshine. She's really annoying. But the thing that irritated me the most about this book was 3 stars. The more I think about it, this book was 3 stars for sure. Because the thing that irritated me the most about this is the use of slang and like childish high school language. So I have a 15-year-old son and the way that he and his friends and his generation talks icks me out so bad. Like it's just, sometimes I hear them talking and I'm just like, oh my God, resist, because it's so stupid sounding. Like I don't like it at all. And this book is rife with it. And she is supposed to be like in her 20s and she literally will be like, wow, look at him. He's got riz. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I reading? Like no one in their 20s is going to talk like that. Like, so oh my God. It was so cringy and just unnecessary. And the slang usage was just, at some points, she's like talking to another person in a conversation. And she would go, I don't think I should have to do that. OMG, you're so, and I'm like, no one says that in conversation. Like no one talks to people and goes, OMG. I was like, if anyone looked at me during a serious conversation regarding carrying a child and used the phrase OMG, I'd be like, and we're moving on. We're done. I can't. So that was the thing that really brought this down for me. Like, I felt like the premise was interesting. I've never read anything like it, but the way it was executed was so over the top outlandish. And the way that the banter and the dialogue was written was just a no-go for me. I think I would probably continue on in this series because some of the side characters actually intrigued me more than the main characters. So I might give her like one more chance because I think the covers kind of draw me in too because I like the covers. But this one was not my favorite. And I feel like this is one that the more I talk about it, the more my star rating will probably go down. But for right now, we're going to give this 3 stars. I find it so funny that Amanda picked me like all these great books and the one that I picked myself was the lowest rated in true Lindsay fashion. So maybe Amanda knows my tastes better than I know my taste, you know? And just like that, we have come to the end where I have read my 4 books that Amanda chose for me this week. What a great week of reading. Let's do a little recap. So the first book Amanda chose for me was All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace, and I gave this a 3.75 stars. Really cute YA romantasy, loved the pirates, loved the world. Definitely will be continuing. The next book Amanda chose was Longshot by Kennedy Ryan. This was a hit. This might have been my favorite book of the entire week. This was so good. NBA, sports romance, spicy. August West is like a great book boyfriend. Loved it. Talked about a lot of serious topics as well, but I think did it very well. A bit explicit, but handled it with a lot of intricacy and care. And I really thought it added a very like serious element to the book that it really needed. It wasn't just a silly little rom-com sports romance with spice. It had a lot of serious topics. It gave the characters a lot of depth, so I really liked it, and I absolutely will be looking for every excuse to carry on in this series. Then we read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, and I gave this a 4.25 stars on Goodreads. I loved this. The writing is beautiful. I knew I had this suspicion that I liked V.E. Schwab's writing, but I think this kind of solidified for me that I do indeed like her writing in the more literary vibe. This was fantastic. It's an icon. So many people end up loving this book, and I was one of them. And then, of course, Amanda told me to pick my own book, and I ended up giving 9-month contract. I gave it a 3.5 on Goodreads. I think I'll probably lower it to a 3. I don't know. The more and more I think about it, the more it was a brainless, silly, goofy, over-the-top time, but was it a good time? I don't know. If you've read this, comment below what you think. Maybe I'm dramatic. And just like that, we have come to the end of our week. If you have made it this entire way, go ahead and comment the basketball emoji for August West from Longshot, who has now become like one of my top 5 book boyfriends. I really like him. He was so cute and so like tall and NBA player and just a little hottie. So comment the basketball player so that we could all talk about how hot August West was, and then do all the things that you were so professional at doing. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye guys.